Testing. Still not looking the best in Australia. It's abhorrent the amount of air quality index, sensor station, that Australia is missing. There are a number of fires burning. And all that smoke goes Western Australia, as well as the fires crossing over the border into Western Australia from Northern Territory. Here, though, big fire, a lot of smoke. Now looking at the United States, you can see some gaps. Bad of the desert. Wait, what am I? Is that real? Oh, 214. '94. These are from the fires that have been burning near the Greater Tahoe region, east of Sacramento. Any smoke that comes from Northern California. It doesn't look like there's a lot of smoke right now. California, that's good. They're able to keep back those fires. Hermansburg looks to be a pretty decent fire burning along a river and a road and a small city. One road through it. Significant fire perimeter outside this small city, all the way heading south. As riverbanks are sloped, fire will gain momentum going down those banks, the water. Make a time lapse of from October 11th, 21st. Two scans, not unexpected. But you can see previously burned area, possible smoke. Doesn't really matter though, since considering that fire is burning out of control, it is a multitude of times bigger than the city that it is dwarfing. Other places, use fire. large plume. Sorry, did not realize I was muted. Don't know for how long, probably forever. Well, nothing's changed. I'm still looking at this amazing buildup of smoke that's happening in Northern Territory, Australia, to Western Territory, Australia, and even the far north Northern Territories. Smoke. This plume down here, crossing the border, Northern Territory to Western Australia. Looks like a lot of fuel that got hit. Real big fires that are just starting, and this is from 10 kilometers. So you see in this massive fire again, just by the border of Western Australia. It is something big. And then nighttime comes and we're not able to see it anymore. Smoke completely covering a third of Australia, the entire continent. Sorry. Fifth, yeah. Pretty much you're seeing right now for smoke. Go back a little bit. On the previous day, going to see smoke an aggressive amount of smoke that's completely covering huge, almost all of Northern Territory. This eruption of smoke goes high up into the air, arcs, and falls back down, or it hits the thermal inversion, allowing it to needle up a little bit higher, closer, going north to the equator, going to go out to sea. But the wind pattern is unpredictable. Weather is going to want to avoid hitting this smoke. Cloud structures. None of this is clouds right here. This is all smoke. Massive amounts of smoke that is currently bombarding the area. You wouldn't know that by looking at the real-time air quality index visual map of Australia, considering it's pretty worthless. This huge area is where all the fires and smoke is currently. What are you doing, Australia? Do you have public facing air quality stations, sensors, they're not expensive. They're really not. Now, this is daily scan of the 21st. I want to see some of these fires on this border. The amount of gains these fires make, I haven't seen fire burn as much as this. As the fires, they burn west, further west, it's being completely wind driven. It acts as a spiral hitting all the ground. Testing. Microphone check. Alright, that was a quick little break. They're like little pistons. Cold and hot water. Pushed and pressured. It's healthy to see. Tropical depression. Big smoke here. Big fires here. Smoke going further north, out west, into the sea, and into more sea. Let's take a look at the current water currents. Looking strong. Still wants to get north, getting pretty far up there, that's good. As for the Gulf of California, we're at least seeing variation of temperatures of a few degrees, so it's not all 1.5 degree hotter throughout the entire Gulf, as we're seeing in other places around the planet. Come over here to the Persian Gulf, where it's having problems. Not a lot of water mixing, and it is very hot. Water is over 32 degrees, 33 degrees Celsius, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Very unhealthy ecosystem. That water has been warm like that for days now. All the other Gulf seems to be cooling off. Gulf of Maine probably still the coolest Gulf in the world. However, now bleaching alerts getting further south along the equator in the southern hemisphere. This will be a wave of death to marine creatures and flora and fauna. And there is no, this is alert level 2, there is no alert. Back to these scans of Australia. A lot of terrible smoke. A lot of ground being chewed up. Vegetation, trees, plants, anything. Carbon-based life forms. These fire perimeters are smoldering. This is all in Australia and the Northern Territory. Quite a bit of smoke, quite a bit of fire. The fire's still burning up and down slopes, gaining runs, going down dunes, going up dunes, and this looks like it just burns straight across quickly north. A lot of very dark smoke. Australia's in a bad place. These fires are growing in magnitude every day that we look at them. They are growing significantly larger each day. Make a time lapse just to show you, mind you. "82 kilometers. This is from the 13th, October 13th, at a scale of 10 kilometers, resolution of 10 kilometers. That's hundreds of kilometers of fire burning across land. This is just 5 days later on the 18th. These fires are making large strides and races. It appears to be more like a typewriter with a carriage return. Just one after another cycling back and forth, playing a game of snake eating the land. Very severe fires burning still. Even though this is the 18th, I have corrected reflectance on this. That's all smoke that we saw earlier along Alice Springs. A lot of terrible smoke erupting. All of it stays still at night, falls back down. This is all Northern Territory. Incredible amounts of smoke and melt. This area needs rain badly. Looks to be pretty decent fires here along the coast, going closer to Brisbane. Got a fire here, and the smoke is traveling south. More fires up here in Coffs Harbor. Getting pretty far north of the touristy area. Fire right here and smoke billowing out. Now, come over to this area so I can show the Northern Territory in better detail of just the extent of these fires over the last several days and the gains they've made and the smoke it's produced. Transition to fade, push play. Here, here, so we get to today. It's pretty incredible to see. The Northern Territory is just being overrun with wildfires, and Western Australia is being blanketed by all the smoke coming from the Northern Territory into Western Australia. Out to sea into the Timor Sea, it's all going to exit north, northwest. You can see how many fires there are. They all have starts. They're all pretty large plumes on each one. Be able to identify each start. Again, you would not know this if you were looking at the Australia real-time air quality index. Because Australia, what are you doing? What are you doing, Australia? These things are not expensive, but all your fires, all of your smoke in this area looks to be largely underreported and unreported due to the air quality not being affected because you're not going to be able to see it. There is still smoke heavily present. You can see the nitrogen dioxide level. It's gripping. Try to pull that up. Okay, nitrogen dioxide troposphere column. This will give us the base of the fires and the plumes associated with each one. Now, this is the border here. This is Alice Springs down here. Very important Alice Springs right now, considering it's surrounded by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. These are just assumptions that the plumes are belonging to a fire that's burning underneath it. This mess up here is on the border of Western Australia. And the Northern Territory. Before we start getting into Queensland and the rest of that. Wildfires are burning throughout Queensland, but they're sparse compared to Northern Territory. Let alone they are burning closer to tourist populations. This is a monster. This whole area had significant runs that went through it for weeks now. August was the beginning of Australia's fire season. That huge area right here, smoke. It's a lot of buildup over the sea, the Timor Sea, up into start getting closer to out of these regions, and the only thing out of here is islands, but there are some islands that are nearby. This looks to be significant burning on the west side of Western Australia. Some pretty significant fires that are looking to be going on right now. Darwin. Northern Territory is in trouble. The amount of smoke would be detrimental to people trying to fight these fires, and it seems the smoke comes out the most right before the line of termination ends on night. You can't have ground air support for fire in night. There was only one pilot that did that, and he unfortunately died. Night vision. Aerial firefighting with night vision goggles. This is all going up. This is actually pretty shocking here. This is Queensland here. ULD. These fires have some pretty good runs to them. Nothing compared to what we're seeing in the Northern Territory. So check different. Actually, let's go back to nitrogen. I did not use a time lapse. Come down closer to the Northern Territory, to the side of the Western Australia here, and push play. Very scattered smoke. This is 9/21. This is, go back to October 11th to the 21st. Transition fade on. A lot of smoke transiting in the area. Just in the last few days. Actually, none of these fires look like they've been out. Their footprints, their fire perimeters still burn heavily, even though it might not be the same perimeter that's burning out for the fire. These are all very, very large fire perimeters in the hundreds of kilometers with each run. They build up and burn everything around it. Absolutely unreal sight seeing out of this Northern Territory in Australia. Go back. Sulfur dioxide and then carbon monoxide. Just the areas around Australia. We're not looking New South Wales, South Australia, or ACT, even though they're the only parts of Australia that have any air quality sensors. Let people hook up their own and use it on your own service. Anything. Especially Australia dropping the ball like this. Many have dropped. So, sulfur dioxide, not much. Not like there's a volcano in the area. Carbon monoxide. Interesting. These fires burning in the north part of Australia are burning very hot. A lot of smoke. And these fires burning by Alice Springs are very notable. This, of course, is Boundary. Till you get to the sea. So let's see here. Carbon monoxide maps also all the fires that we're currently looking at. They are so visible in so many different ways, but only using this way, checking its nitrogen, carbon levels, until sunrise comes for Australia. Then you can see all of the smoke and fires on satellite. Aerosol index. This should give us a better picture of not just smoke, of course, it's particulates, ash, things still burning in the air. Hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit these objects can be. Falling back down. Try another finer index. Now this you can finally see what I was talking about. Get rid of the C. This is all the smoke west of Western Australia that is building up out to sea in the Timor Sea and going forward. It's just have these little areas that be quickly covered and overwhelmed. This is a lot of smoke. All of this smoke here, this is all smoke heading out to sea even further than I can see right now on this map. I would have to... Christmas Islands? I can't remember. That's smoke. Carbon, pollutants from wildfires that have been burning for days and weeks, that have jumped hundreds of kilometers over the last few days, hundreds of miles over the last few days. Either way you want to use either measurement, distance, this isn't, I don't think I've seen something like this before since earlier in the year with the Canadian wildfires in the northeast, where you were seeing a lot of smoke structures built up over bodies of water, and they had no competition, they had no weather to move them out of the way, so they just sat there in the Gulf of Maine. Starting to see a lot of this. I don't know if this straight line here is smoke or fire from, might be something independent. Although I don't see fires burning that far north. Burning here, Northern Territory, right before Queensland. I'm back. Unexpected runaway. Okay. So this is looking like a brutal day Australia is going to be faced with. Let's go all the way forward. Queensland slowly starting to be revealed, but it'll be until, I don't know, a 10-minute delay on satellite images, so it'll take probably another 30 minutes. There's still so much to look at because these fires are not going away, as we see, and the smoke buildup is becoming extremely detrimental to any form of carbon-based life, or planes, birds, people on the sea, people that are sailing, little boats that have one of these clouds, like, not fog, it's smoke, and you'll know immediately it's smoke because it tastes, it smells, it feels like smoke all around you. But the warm drafts would keep all this up, and the smoke would just keep continuing until it either arcs into the sea and down. You can see these whips here. These are squall lines. These is smoke that gets caught up in the squall line that just continues as a squall line at speed. Smoke is sticky. Smoke wants to always be around each other and make these elaborate smoke structures when it sits at rest for a long period of time and it creates weight, and that can fall down, which can fall on anything. No way of really knowing if it is or not, but it's a gargantuan amount of smoke, particulates, other elements in the air that are very detectable. So the fact that we're seeing some of the worst carbon monoxide and on the entire continent of Australia, we're not seeing that represented on the air quality index of itself. I gotta just, it's useless. Just close out of it. So this is aerosol index. Either way, fine as we can get. Still seeing the fires that are burning around Alice Springs, and still seeing the hundreds of miles or kilometers of perimeter fire, active fire fronts that are active on many different perimeters. These fires can join up. These fires can join up to create a mega fire. Don't think it doesn't happen, because it already has happened. We've seen at least 2 mega fires that we've noted in previous videos here and here. Thank you. Love you too. Is it hot? Thank you. Zoom out a little bit as I wait for my sandwich to cool. This. What is that? That looks like an anomaly near South Australia. Borders on. Cover. Nothing is coming up. Landsat. Hoping to see thermal, but that's fine. We already know where the fires are at. Everywhere. Australia's in trouble. I'll go to the 21st. You can see here on satellite on the 21st, all that smoke. Here's that. Here's the wildfire north of Alice Springs that has been burning, that's causing all the trouble. Very deep burn, a lot of fuel, or the fire hits up to, fire bumps up to, say this is a rocky outcrop, and then got some vegetation here growing up towards cliff face. Then you have all the fire. The fire is allowed to burn greater heights because it's going against a cliff face or a wall, and probably say halfway up to the cliff top. There's vegetation. Fire will reach that vegetation. Fire will combust, burn, and then go to the next plateau. A fire travels in very peculiar ways, as it's always working in tandem to advance. This is Alice Springs in South Northern Territory, Australia. A lot of smoke, several fires still burning out of control. And we still just see where these big fires are. No matter which way I look at them, these fires are absolutely enormous. But using Sentinel-1 sensing, we'll at least be able to see if there's any structures on the ground that normally can't be seen in a satellite. This type of satellite technology walks over everything and feels it, touches everything. So it can turn a house from anything else. You take a look at Alice Springs. This does come up. Okay, so it's not coming up now. Oh, it came up. I'm a Sentinel too. It doesn't matter. It isn't what I'm looking for, but okay, this might be burning. This is Alice Springs Fields farming outfit probably. That's far east of Alice Springs. Alice Springs has glorious airport. And Alice Springs is pretty populated. Pretty important area. But we're seeing fires that are burning in this blackened land here. All this land here. Recently burned, very hot. Looks like it's burning south now. Pretty big burns. Bumping up to the highway, plenty highway. Doesn't look like it crossed over. But there is a massive amount of scorched earth all the way to the west. See another active fire perimeter. Fires are everywhere. can't tell if they're being pushed back, if they're being contained or controlled, or if these are controlled burns, or wildland burns, or bushfires, because these perimeters, each of them, several miles long in length, and they're traveling in more than 4 degrees of direction at a time. These fires are growing south, it grows out east, grows out northeast here and north here, even growing out east. And these fires all along this perimeter of this one active fire front with so much burned land behind it. Land that don't need to burn land. That should be said. The old ways of burning land for cheap farmland doesn't make sense anymore to science. The main things like prion disease that are targeted with napalm can't be getting rid of. Tear that whole land up. I'm not saying these are farmland, but there's dairy farmers on strike. So maybe a cow kicked over a lantern. Sure. These fires are out of control, and I don't think anybody's fighting them, because I don't think there's any modern way of fighting these fires. The amount of smoke that's overhead that these people they'd be overwhelmed. So many lakes to be able to get water to these extremely difficult to reach regions in northern Australia. And if the one highway looks like the Stewart Highway caught fire in multiple different positions, it would be far more difficult to get to them. This is a fire that's currently burning throughout, crossed over the Stewart Highway that's burning. Any kind of valley and chasm will be an accelerant to the fire as it just fans the flames. Comes a wind tunnel. So there's no telling where the fire will go next. There's no telling where these fires, how big they will get, because they've grown several hundred square kilometers of fire perimeter in just a few short days. These would get very hard to follow on foot, especially since this ground is all crackling and moldering still. As you can see, this is more like the carriage return effect of the fires. They go chews up the land. The fire seems to be burning greater. Thickest billowing black smoke I've seen, mostly in this area. Whatever fuel it hit, maybe the car, we don't know. But that looks like a river system. So it could be churning in some riverbanks, grinding away all the vegetation, heating up the water locally. See here, this fire perimeter, this doesn't stop just at the area we were looking at. Some hot spots. There's some fires behind the perimeter that are still burning all that fuel. This is hundreds of miles, hundreds of kilometers of an active fire front. This is very unique. This low-lying, rocky terrain, and just massive dark plumes, very gray, black smoke billowing out from all these fires that look to be wind driven. Light. As the wind hits the area, everything tumbles with the wind. These fires are massive. Do a time lapse of this area here. From the 21st down into October 11th. Now, I'm gonna go back a little bit back. One day, maybe. Yep. Now, this is on the temp, the dates up here. This fire here, racing down, is going to make hundreds of kilometers of gains in just a few short days. Now we go to the next slide, which is October 15th. Just making these very strong runs. Now we are looking at the 20th. Fire that had a front just up here made gains all within bounding box. This is all plus runs for the, with terrible smoke. Hopefully it's not hitting unnatural fuel. Storage of gasoline or propane. Nothing like that. More like a pallet warehouse. Yeah, still active fire perimeters that are burning within the last few days. Damn. Okay. Huge plume of smoke here. That is absolutely massive. These fires are absolutely burning in very striking patterns. Is pretty much zigzagging around the area. This smoke is on another level. Let's create a time lapse of this area of just the last few days. Play. Okay, so there's no fire here in the southwest region yet until the next slide. 1013. Pretty active fire front that's building up. That's going to use the riverbank as a slope, as a wind tunnel, among other ways that fire can abuse a riverbank. A lot of vegetation along the riverbank, so there's a lot more fuel. It's a lot that fires take advantage of when they hit these little streams and creeks and ditches. Now this is from the 13th. We see the fire here in the southwest, just riding along the river, crossing over it. Till the 15th. Coming up as far here. This fire is absolutely accelerating along this path of the river. Next day, next slide, the 18th. Terrible wildfires scorched all of this earth. Scorched all of this earth as it continues its pathway up through the river system. It continues to burn greater and greater till it reaches out east from where it started along this bend in the river. Now burning out of control in so many different ways now. These very striking, hard-driven, wind-driven patterns. Okay, I'm going to... Yep. You can see Alex Springs there. That smoke is still there near Alice Springs, still burning. Still nitrogen dioxide levels, carbon monoxide levels are all showing hot spots where they're going to be later in the day. What we can see here, they're burning pretty massively all throughout the Northern Territory. These are fires that are burning Western Australia. Pretty deep burns, hitting the coastline, again taking advantage of all the nutrients and minerals. This smoke looks unusual. The smoke looks very unusual. Let's do a time lapse of this area over the last few days. You can see on the 11th, 12th, on the 11th especially, there are some rather large fires that are stomping their way southwest from the north of Western Australia, not Northern Territory, Australia. Some spectacular smoke clouds that are slowly going up into the sea, above the sea. Wildfire burning here strongly. Western Australia. Smoke plume, that's all the energy as the fires push out the smoke, kind of lobbing it haphazardly away. And the smoke doesn't usually stop until it comes to a rest, where it will sit, make a mega structure of smoke above the area. But if it's continually being fed, the smoke's unpredictable because the fire can change anything. When the fires are at rest and the smoke is just sitting there in the sky and just doing nothing until 100-kilometer wind hits it, or a rain front, or just different altitudes of clouds running into it that are just having to fail on its original plan. These fires are burning all throughout Western Australia too. This isn't just smoke from Northern Territories in Western Australia, but it is a significant amount of wildfires that are burning along the coastline. The whole peninsula up here looks to be wasted. And then you get to the 20th. You have the 21st down here. Okay, good. So something was hit here on the 20th in Western Australia. That just... This is a very strange smoke screen. This is a more brownish, yellowish hue. I haven't seen smoke like this in a while. Could have been a factory, could have been a chemical plant, could have been any number of things. But this looks like more fertilizer, liquid manure, something. Its smoke is uncharacteristic of literally every other plume of smoke we've seen in Australia over the last 2 weeks. We've looked at them. This is different. So this is on the western side of Australia. We can zoom in a little bit there. Make sure I know where I'm going. Okay, here we go. And just south of Broome. Okay, it is a highway. Ports. It could be a ship fire. Could be a wetland fire. This. Huh. A wildfire hitting a bog. I don't think I've seen the effects of that. But I've seen the effects of smoke from many explosions and fires. And... could it be these fields? I said fertilizer, liquid manure. It wouldn't be a stretch since it's needed in great quantities and kept in great quantities. No way of telling just yet if these structures were at risk. Going back here, it is closer. It is closer inland. This is what we're looking at here. And this smoke is looking very strange. There's a very strange hue to it. It could be from the sunlight, could be another number of things, but there's two scans of this smoke, so it makes me accept that it is not refraction of sunlight, since it's being dissipated or dispersed across the Timor Sea. Try to find this point of origin right here. Take this down, open this, go back one day. This is, I would say that it looks more like sand that comes off the African subcontinent that changes between Florida and Brazil. But it wouldn't be that kind of explosion unless it's, I don't. So we can see the plume. It looks like the point of origin of this fire is right here. You can see the underlying characteristics of the fire and its smoke. So let's take Alright, go back. There's an airport. But really the only thing I see is this farmland here. And that could be fertilizer, liquid manure, and it's burning across the highway. The right colors. I would say it's probably this farmland that got hit. As you can see, there's been wildfires that have came pretty close already. Alright, I'll accept that as farmland slash manure slash fertilizer. Got caught up in an explosion. Other areas to look at would be like Texas fertilizer explosion in the 2000s. It's very peculiar smoke and an immediate amount of smoke that gets lifted or gets put up very quickly. Very strange for bushfires in Australia to see some patterns like this, so it makes me to believe that it probably is that farmland that we were seeing on satellite. Might have hit a little fertilizer and poof. Doesn't need to be a lot. But if they have on storage, silo of it, propane tank for everything else. There's a catastrophic story behind this explosion. South of Broome. There's also an airport, a bog, I guess a wetland more like it, and coastal fronts along with a lot of grass. A lot more grass than usual in the northern territory of Australia. But all these fires are still burning. You can see this big arm here of smoke. Looking really, really impressive. Again, I believe the point of origin was around here, and the smoke continually comes out, pushing this out east, southeast of the fire. And that was the smoke structure that we were seeing yesterday. This is the 20th. This is last night before sun or sun down. It's the fire burning right here. See it in his feet. It has 2 stacks and a lot of different bends because it's a lot of geography. A lot of geography it needs to be able to get over. But with slopes and runs and plateaus, drops, it only accelerates the smoke and allows it to bound out further. As you can see, if the smoke's left alone, it'll stay in one shape, in one structure. But as more smoke fills the air, it acts as a fulcrum and causes it all to move. The smoke structure, again, is not as is from here, from here to here. So that is straight line, 628 kilometers, but it's on an arc and it's curved because that's how far it's anchoring itself. So you can see the line here. Push play. You can see how much it affects smoke itself and pushes it over, but it is still in relatively the same shape of the smoke structure. I haven't seen anything like this since the Gulf of Maine earlier in the year with the Canadian wildfire smoke that was just creating these elaborate smoke structures above the ocean. We're just staying over Nova Scotia and other country, or over other areas for days. Never made landfall, thankfully. They got pulled out into millions of bits over across the North Atlantic. So we'll look at this a little bit longer. Can't see the north side of it making out as well, but does appear to be more wildfires that are building up into the night. That hit something very large right there. Right here. Right here. Right here. A lot of smoke. This is an alarming amount of smoke. This is all just before sundown yesterday for Australia. It is almost their morning, but as you can see, this is all smoke. This is all smoke. It's massive amounts of smoke, different runs, different starts, and some of these fires are just gone. Really alarming to see the full extent of that. Either all this smoke around here is rising up together and it's getting sticky and it's sticking together, going up higher, or no, we already went through the nitrogen dioxide and carbon monoxide levels. Those are all fires for sure. Those aren't just clouds or formations of smoke meeting each other and rising to an altitude that's visible. Satellite technology. These are all new wildfires burning across the Northern Territory into the Western Australia. And we see the smoke here. That's Western Australia. It's a lot of smoke just outside, out to sea in Australia. It's a lot of smoke. Just like Canadian wildfires, the smoke is going to go places. If it gets caught up in a squall line of weather and gets pulled into something, it's very detrimental. These are pretty bold fires. Oh, there's a hurricane heading south, New Caledonia. Hopefully that pushes some much needed weather, some rain, because there really hasn't been. I haven't had radar turned on because there is just no radar or weather to see. Almost everything in Northern Territory is smoke. This is Alice Springs here. This is alarming. This fire looks to be still alive right here. There's the bottom of it. There's smoke of smoke needling up. And it's been filling up the sky all night. Go back to the daily. Massive smoke. This is just endless. Not South Australia, sorry. Northern Territory to Western Territory is looking very bad. I haven't seen smoke like this in months. But the amount of smoke that's being built up for today and whatever happened over here in Western Australia looks like a very dirty field fire, fertilizer, liquid manure. It looks very strange. We know it's not due to the sun because go back one day, you can see the huge plume that originally looked at this deeper, and it does look like farmland. So, dirty field fire. But this massive plume is still in the air of whatever it is. You can see the fires even burning much further south now. Western Australia and Northern Territory are burning tremendously, with fires hundreds of square kilometers, active fire perimeter. These are all difficult to reach fires. Also, due to firefighters striking, I don't even know if anybody's even fighting these fires. This is insane. The winds turn, and all of this wind heads east, heads southeast. What is New South Wales? And ACT going to do? It's just the way the wind blows. There's also wildfires burning here and up here. And this smoke is heading south along the coastline. These fires heading south. Not fires, it's smoke from these fires heading south. Along with all the smoke that could be pushed east along the Northern Territory. We're looking at a REM forecast of smoke that's going to allow fire to maneuver in different areas, protected from all sorts of different things. These fires could all combine to create a mega fire. Any of these fires could combine with another fire to create a mega fire. It possibly did. Connects right here, that connects here, that connects here, here. A lot of a fire. I haven't seen anything like this in a long time. Back here, look at these massive plumes of smoke. Check it out. Just like, and all that smoke goes up. Looking at extremely burned fields. Endless flames. Sorry, I was muted. Thankfully, stream did not hear all that madness. Chinchilla. Not want that cage to be cleaned. Put him on stream. Chinchilla. Sounds like weird sounds when they get mad at the cats. When he gets mad at the cat. Well, okay. New fire front on this perimeter. Here. See how they burn. How the smoke travels. A lot of smoke here. Well, here's the fire here. This is east of the Great Northern Highway. That looks like that plume of smoke too. The one south of Broome. This is another scan of it. Go down to the 19th. That farm did look like it burned. Massive fires. Entire field just consumed. And this looks like the same coloration of that plume that went off to sea. We can see right here. This is a well. Go waste something. By rolling hills here. Great Northern Highway. What is it, Northern Highway? Okay. That's massive field of fires. Smoke. That looks like significant fire. These fuels are just being consumed. A lot of big smoke here. Looks like a lot of runs that are going all along this. Like it's going way. A lot of new fires. These are not new smoke plumes. Or smoke plumes that are. It could be. These could be just previous plumes of smoke that were just sent away and dissipated. Sent away by the flames. The energy of the burn. The gases being let out. All that stuff will have a little effect on pushing smoke around. You'll need a little. These fires are looking massive. Every 10 minutes, like some of these fires are just too big to put out successfully. Smoke. See here. Queensland. Got fires burning. Probably not out of control, but probably enough to warrant evacuations nearby. Go closer north to Cairns. This is a massive smoke formation. Could become a structure. Seeing if it lifts off. Like a scab. Just lifts off like a scab and just floats. Well, not floats. Transits. This is fires burning northwest and the smoke heading northeast, southeast. Because the smoke that we see over here is at a higher altitude. All this smoke is at a higher altitude, so it's not going to be affected as much by the low-lying fires yet. This is looking even greater as it continues to illuminate the day for Australia. Maybe in another 10-20 minutes. The rest of the puzzle will be completed, and then we'll see what Australia has in store for it today. Going back to Sentinel, nitrogen dioxide. This is what they have for today. Pretty much the regions that we were seeing on fire right now, all around Alice Springs and the Northern Territory, going up towards the border of northern to Western Australia. These are independent fires burning on the other side of Western Australia. These are not related to smoke crossover, although there does look to be some fire crossover of Northern Territory and Western Australia. I'm afraid all this smoke is going to build up to the point that it's going to move together all in one piece as a structure and then descend upon a population. These are uncertain times when it comes to smoke. Don't know if it's going to stay on the coast. Don't know if it's going to come back from the ocean after traveling the North Atlantic. Do not see a lot of smoke buildup in North America, either Canada or America. These are extremely hot looking plumes now. All that white there is not just null data. This is heat. Let's check carbon monoxide actually. Before we say more. Yep. Just as nitrogen dioxide level shows, Alice Spring is in a lot of trouble as fires are burning all along these lines. New fires, I should say new fires, but fires still burn over in Western Australia, independent for these fires. I don't think these fires are connected yet, even though they could continue and run. I do not see that happening anytime soon, as this is hundreds of kilometers. But as we've these are some fires over Queensland area, as far as Darwin. That's mostly identifying as particulates, carbon monoxide. Take a look at the aerosol index. Set these before I forget again. 21st, 9, 1 month over to the 11th. And we have the aerosol index, which is wildly reporting more of the same as we've seen. This area over in Western Australia south of Broome, something big happened here. Something very big happened here on the west side of Australia. Something very important was hit, and it looked like it was a very large farm field, not farm field. It's massive industrial farming. And the worst thing about that is usually with the fertilization of land or the liquid manure that's kept in great amounts. Either way, it doesn't matter. This is a lot of wild. Let's go back one day. The 20th. So even on the 19th so far, we can see these fires have been raging over north and south of Broome. But just recently, pollution from these wildfires takes over. it will be interesting to see where it's going to be at in the morning. I mean, it would be pretty unavoidable news to hear of a town that's consumed by fire. But what we're looking at with Australia is Australia doesn't have any any air can literally write this all over the place. It doesn't matter because Australia is lacking air quality stations through much of itself. Now, if you say it's because it's desert regions and such, yeah, I see that in Nevada and Arizona. But anybody can put their air quality sensors up for public facing purposes. Only the touristy areas down to Australian Capital Territory, New South Wales, do you even start to see a complex amount of sensors. You see this sensor here? Good. It's a happy face, right? How is that thing even working? Is that even at a building height level? Because I'll tell you, this looks like hell. This is all smoke. All smoke. With the fire burning right here, and Alice Springs right here. This doesn't... There's like perf, I get perf. It's down here. Wildfires there, but still it's not good enough. These things are not expensive. They're not. These air quality sensors are pretty cheap, made to be replaceable because dust, ash, and other things will build up on top of them and harm to the sensor needing to be replaced. Not all the time. Cover over it. But there is no way that, well, yeah, it's a great scenic desert, but I mean, there's farm fields, there's cities, all of this data, all of this data, all of this data is missing. This is pretty terrible, and it just keeps getting worse as we're seeing more and more smoke build up all along the Northern Territory in Western Australia. It is becoming ferocious in the amount of smoke that we are seeing right now within the last 10 to 20 minutes than the last 20 hours. It's a lot of smoke, a lot of smoldering fires that have been building up smoke. As soon as the winds pick it up and lift it up, depending on the weight of the smoke, articulation, you could say, of the smoke, just how particulated all these plumes are coming up until they hit an area in the sky where they either flatten out, hit a ceiling, or it goes through a thermal inversion, spread out pretty evenly across each itself. We're seeing a lot of fires here are burning that are within hundreds of kilometers in their fire perimeters, their active fire perimeters. Those were all from today. So, without Australia doing some pretty big upgrading here. Be a weather balloon. Just put them on every building, because every building will benefit from knowing the air quality index 5 kilometers northeast of itself, especially when there's nothing else 5 kilometers northeast. So we're seeing some massive failures here by the Australian government, regretfully. A lot of lungs can be saved by knowing that, hey, I'm not going to take the Great Northern Highway today up to that leisure trip that I planned, or I'm going to reschedule a meeting, friends, recreational things that people will have that information that would change their plans or just delay their plans. Not the location, you're not losing tourism, but these people would benefit greatly from knowing that they're about to drive into hell. I don't use that. I don't use that word loosely here. As back over here, bam. It's right on it like a hermit crab's shell. That is a very dirty fire that we've seen. This is the same fire here, just different satellite looking at it. There's 3 different ways that I'm looking at satellite. This is that massive explosion of aerosolized particulates that got lifted into the air. It's all going out to sea. This is all smoke. This is all smoke. All smoke. Yep. Well, it's all out to sea, but when it gets out to sea, there's nothing to mess with it anymore. Smoke needs to be pushed around, or it sticks together and makes these smoke structures that become very detrimental to all forms of known life when they descend onto populated areas, either by humans or other animals, other fauna or floral. Other way, Sentinel-3 looking at this. Taking a minute, sorry. Okay. You can see the smoke on here. You can see a better representation. Over the islands nearby. Looks like I drew a hand turkey for Thanksgiving. Not that I would actually make a turkey for Thanksgiving, but I do remember making the hand one, tracing it. That looked like it. So that isn't. Is this? What happened here? There had to have been a great explosion that happened here south of Broome, southeast of Broome. Everything points to possible fertilizer or liquid manure or other volatile farming needs. This is here as the fire races. Fire creates its own front as it cuts through everything else because it's so hot. It disrupts everything, and all moisture wants to get away from the fire and from the heat. So the smoke gets sent up in great quantities until it's lifted over, so the smoke can just be itself while the fire just terrorizes the rest of the countryside, is normally what you would see. But this is the first, I would say, an explosion happened here of any kind of power. I'm not saying it was an enormous explosion, but it's more of what it put in the air. It could have been a mild explosion, but it was around a lot of different things that put a lot of different aerosolized possibly fertilizer or something. There's liquid manure explodes like that too, and it just a lot of carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide that is being pushed out in enormous clam shell shape. Like, let's go back over here. Now this is a wildfire that's been burning northeast of Broome. I'm saying that right. Yep. So it is just a return carriage on a typewriter, back and forth, making its way all across the territory of the peninsula. Down here, you have these amazing, wild, wind-driven fires that are just absolutely sending smoke skyrocketing from its point of origin. Okay, you can see where all the land burned, where it's currently having active fire perimeters. But this right here, what is going on here? This is new to me. I did not notice this on the western side of Australia in the last couple of streams. Something significant went up. See if I can get a better resolution. So there are lots of fields and roads and streets. Not those. I mean, it's a lot of. It could be just one really large bushfire. One really large bushfire. Hmm. Well, there's no way of really. Because anything I look at on that map closer, it's probably in this fire. So let's go ahead a day, up before, to the 18th. So within one day, day 19th, 20th, to the 21st. It just rides that line right here. This is an unusual fire behavior. This is an elongated run. Normally it widens, it finds other factors of control against it, either getting fought back or wins, does not find enough fuel to contain itself, and it just starts spreading in width instead of length. This fire is all length and very narrow. And this is also in the same area that we saw that farmland. It's also in that same area that we're seeing this very strange barrage of smoke that is coming out of the south of Bloom. Very, very strange. Not here, not on that. Sorry for switching around. Need to stay with this picture for a moment. Try last. So the dark blues is the burnt lands, scorched earth here. This fire here is burning with focus on fuel. Could be some tall bushes and trees and massive crowning events that are happening at a low lying land. Or it hit some fuel that made it real dirty. Go back through color. It is a very strange coloration of whatever made this happen in two separate events. Here is that same fire going along this ridge. It nearly looks to have died right here. It made a little fork. Found fuel right here. So whatever it hit there, that fire was gone. Very deep burning. Oh. And again, because there are no air quality stations in the area for hundreds of miles, no way of telling if air is actually detrimental to the health of people and animals around the area. And farms, there's probably farm animals, people working. This, definitely look that up. I think YouTube blocked my account on my normal account because I have blocker on. Turned it off. It still wants me to turn off something else. That here to look at. Get about as far as that. Okay, I'll just find another way to watch YouTube. Everyone else. But probably annoying because I was going to look up more of the news in the area. This is all active smoke that's still over the area as of today. Going back to Earth. Very strange looking smoke formation, like ribs, because every time the plumes get cut at the fuel, it makes that smoke trail. These are burning at length instead of a height. while there is a smoke screen that is flat, this is all smoke, by the way, circling. This is higher up in altitude than the rest of the smoke, especially that you would find locally here by Alice Springs. These fires can join up, meet up, mend with smoke. All the energy blasting out of these flames moves smoke. Smoke doesn't move by itself, so and will stick together and make smoke structures. No other way of putting smoke structure. Where the smoke just gets to get rest and sit. And one right here is a lot of what remains of that smoke structure that sat here this time yesterday, as you can see here on the 20th. This is the current fire that we're looking at right now. But there's something different about these fires. They all have active fire fronts on their perimeter. Every single fire that we see here is burning in such great detail. Plumes right here, here, and some of these right here that might have been intermittently going off. Now that the energy from that plume would move the whole stack. It's looking pretty wild. Again, I'll refresh. Real-time air quality index for Australia isn't budging. It's actually better now. They really screwed up here. They really screwed up here. Not only they probably don't have the bodies to fight these fires, since the Union firefighters striking. I don't know if still. It's been since August. Probably. They have dairy farmers are striking. Dairy farmer striking means people that normally wouldn't work on the farms might work on the farms, might work in the factories, might work on the plants, not knowing what they're doing, even though they make a lot of money. And they get them hurt like at John Deere or Ford. They have a strike force to make sure ambulances get through without question, pick you up from your work injury. While you have 10 people trying to do 500 job. Really strange time. Not even just automation taking. No, we can do this. You guys are just asking for too much. That's everywhere, even the people that are truly suffering all around the world. Pay your workers. Or, you know, your firefighters might strike, and you start seeing massive postmodern natural disasters unfolding right before your eyes that can't look away. Because this is happening within hundreds of miles of me. Not to the scale and the extent that this was. Not anymore. California is still seeing a lot of fire. Oregon is still seeing a lot of fire. Idaho is still seeing a lot of fire. East side of Washington and Montana as well. West of Kalispell. Still seeing bits of fire. But nothing as active and ongoing as these fires have been in Australia this These are hugely impactful to the ecosystem, to airports. We can go back over. See the refill level. What? I gotta make a time lapse of this range. A bit more. Oh. 11th to the 21st. Just gonna look at this real quick. That blue is all fire and smoke. This is you. When I mention arcs, this is what I'm talking about. This kind of fire behavior. You have the smoke that comes over that allows all the embers to cook in a kettle. So they have to travel only so far. There's still 700 degrees Fahrenheit, so it lands here. This is also the area of concern here, where that little segment of fire found new fuel. But this is a perfect representation arc of fire building up here, and smoke comes out. Smoke comes out even thicker. Wind picks up. Smoke is pushed over. It's a front, wall cloud, something, anything. Different pressure in the air. And it was hot. Embers. Fall down. Starting fires. It's the energy and the release of the gases of the carbon-based life forms that are being burned and combusted. Even that's enough to send this a lot going off at once in these bushfires. That just lobs all that smoke up. But we're seeing very alarming amounts of fire in Western Australia that has made severe gains over just the last days. If Landsat 8 and 9 can come up, oh it does, great, great, great. 20th. Not yet. Previously burned fires, or these are just fields. I'm not gonna find much time on that. It just looks like a significant amount of different color smoke than any other smoke in the rest of Australia that have been burning. Could have helped a lot of people if only Australia would have put out a bare minimum of air quality sensors, and even if they're not front facing, if I can't access, who else can? Meteorologists, people reporting news, I don't know. This is frustrating. None of these numbers are accurate. This keeps jumping around ridiculous amounts, and there's only one for every few hundred kilometers in bushfire season. It's not looking great. You'll see cooler temperatures in South Australia to ACT New South Wales, but very dry, smoky, ruinous conditions in Northern Territory, now Western Australia. These... Okay, we see that here too. Particulate matter, largest. That's more like it. That's kind of what we're seeing with smoke. It's massive and everywhere. Sulfate extinction. No, we don't. Dust. No, don't need dust. That's dust coming from meeting two different weather fronts in the middle of Australia, South Australia to Northern Territory. So it's not related to the wildfires. The giant jump we just saw here. This isn't wildfire here, it's wildfire. We can confirm that over satellite. This is more like it. That's not wildfires to be looking at right now, even though here. This something really big, like an industrial farmland, went up. Something doesn't sit right with me about Western Australia and south of Broome. It looks like it was a calamity of moderate to severe proportions, with the fuel hit to smoke to releasing of everything due to the fire, and the smoke coming up in giant clam burst that just goes right off to sea. Could have been a chemical plant, something industrial, could be a mine fire, could be anything. It's Australia. Could have been an abandoned mine. You'll never know. But when we can confirm the location a little bit better, I'll have a better idea. When it's during the daytime, what it might have hit in this region that caused a tremendous release of energy and pollutants, from that fire that just, oh, it's a river. You know, we keep talking about how these rivers are slopes, they're wind tunnels. You get fire that goes tumbling all around here, and material that's heated, that's hot, combusts other material that's surrounding vegetation all along the banks. It's a pretty wide-mouthed river the further north you get up. If I'm not seeing anything besides one single farm, and the closest river system is pretty south of here, had to have been in this area. But just by zooming in randomly, I'm not going to possibly find one possible point of impact of the fire. Could have been a lot of different factors. I haven't seen something like this. Trying to follow the roads, and the roads, something devastating happened here. Not an inferno, but probably a mild to a moderate explosion and release of pollutants of locally stored that's been sprayed all over fields, something. But not seeing, I am not seeing anything besides that farm earlier. Part of Western Australia that is currently experiencing a tremendous amount of pollution. But you wouldn't know that if you were looking at go over their air quality index. Fix it. Space and fires. Know that. Carbon monoxide. You still see these carbon monoxide levels strong. These fires are burning where they're joining and pulling other air in. And nitrogen dioxide match carbon monoxide, and also you can see all those lines, wall lines. Air being pulled between Indonesia, Australia. Looking at the currents, nothing to take those white smoke away yet. And the northwest side and the north side of Western Australia and Northern Territory Australia is some of the hottest water. And here we go. Okay, so that's clouds. Healthy, that's fine. Excuse me. You'll see the remnants right there. You can still see right here. Older smoke. But this smoke right here that's some of the smoke that we were looking at south of Broome that went off west to the sea and Timor Sea and other. Looks like a pretty noxious cloud. And I dropped my microphone. I am terribly sorry about that. Is it showing up? Yes. Oh. Two very curious cats. I want to be on camera. Alright, well, it's now sunrise in Australia. And it looks like they have massive, massive amount of smoke to be concerned about. Well, as well as a lot of alarming new fires. And fires that are continuing to burn. No way of people knowing if the air quality is safe to breathe or not, because air quality stations or sensors speak of across the entire northwestern. Super frustrating that this air looks very noxious, very eruptive, and so many dangerous levels of nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide. That's not just from hitting bushfires. That's something that hit still airborne. That's still in the sky here, right here. I don't know what it is, but came from here, this region. And it was a giant burst that bam. We see each of these is a different plume of smoke burning in these areas that are now covered by clouds. Looks like rain. Like some rain's getting in the mix. Good for a very small portion of Australia. Alright, with that, have a good night. Or day for all the people in Australia. Sunrise.